Imphal Airport sits inside Manipur in India's northeast, close to the Myanmar border, in a region where airspace management carries security weight that goes beyond routine aviation. The airport serves commercial traffic daily. Indigo, Air India, SpiceJet, and its control tower coordinate civil and military activity in a sensitive corridor. So when an unidentified object appears over that tower, it does not stay a curiosity for long. Controllers have one fundamental obligation: keep the airspace safe and predictable. An object that cannot be identified, cannot be communicated with, and will not leave breaks both of those conditions at once. That is why, in aviation terms, the response on 19th November 2023 was not dramatic. It was procedurally necessary. What makes this story worth your time is not the word UFO, which simply means unidentified flying object and says nothing at all about origin. What makes it worth your time is that official India, Parliament, Civil Aviation, and the Air Force generated a documented record of genuine uncertainty, and that record has answers you would expect and one gap you probably would not. Before we get to the gap, you need the full picture of what happened that afternoon. At 14:30 Indian Standard Time on 19 November 2023, the CISF, the Central Industrial Security Force, which guards Indian airports, called the Imphal ATC control room. Their personnel had spotted something above the tower. This was not a radar ping, not an automated alert. It was a direct call from security officers who had eyes on an object they could not identify. What followed was a response that unfolded across almost 2 hours. According to reporting that drew on the Civil Aviation Ministry's parliamentary written reply submitted to the Lok Sabha in December 2023, the object was described as white, observed moving southward above the tower, and then holding a stationary position for a period of time. It remained visible until 16:05 IST. The parliamentary answer placed its disappearance about 20 minutes before sunset that day. After 16:05, it was gone. No one on the public record says where it went. Airport operations were suspended during this window. An Indigo Airbus A320 flying from Kolkata was held for roughly 25 minutes and diverted to Guwahati. A Delhi-bound service was diverted to Kolkata. 3 additional departing flights were delayed. A notice to airmen, a NOTAM, was issued, formally closing the relevant airspace. These are operational facts with a documented paper trail, not interpretations. The IAF Eastern Command said publicly that it activated its air defense response mechanism based on visual inputs from the ground. Later media reports, including Business Standard and Times of India, said 2 Rafale fighters conducted a search. Here is the critical line: the available public material does not establish that those aircraft detected the object on sensors or identified it. A search took place. A result was not published. The Civil Aviation Ministry's parliamentary answer said the object posed a danger because of unpredictable movement. It did not endorse any explanation for what it was. That is what the strongest documented case in Indian airspace history actually contains: a verified response with an unverified cause. 14 years before Imphal, a different kind of anomaly appeared in Indian airspace records, and understanding it sharpens everything about what the Imphal documents can and cannot tell you. At around 03:45 on the morning of 12 March 2009, controllers at Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose International Airport in Kolkata saw an unusual radar blip appear on their screens, roughly 37 nautical miles east over the Bay of Bengal. They attempted radio contact. They received no response. The blip moved southwest and disappeared after about 15 minutes. Indian Air Force radars at 2 regional stations reportedly did not detect it. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation ordered an investigation. Here is what that investigation produced in public. Contemporaneous reporting described AAI technicians considering a false radar return from the airport's aging equipment as a plausible cause. What the public record does not contain is a confirmed final finding, and that matters. This is a radar anomaly in ATC records, not a pilot visual report. No pilot sighting was documented in the available reporting, so you have 2 very different evidence types. Kolkata gave you a blip on aging hardware with a plausible technical explanation that was never fully closed out. Imphal gave you multiple human witnesses, security staff, airport personnel, airline employees, an official aviation response, a parliamentary confirmation, and still no identification. That gap between the response and the answer is the center of gravity in this story. ATC records can tell you that something required a response. They can record diversions, NOTAMs, and official statements. What they cannot do, at least in what is publicly available from both cases, is tell you what the object was. So what was it? The honest answer is that the public record does not say. But intellectual honesty also means walking through what the conventional explanations actually look like against the documented facts. The most commonly cited candidates for a daytime unidentified aerial object near an airport are weather balloons, unauthorized drones, large birds, and atmospheric optical effects. Each has a different evidentiary signature. Weather balloons drift. The Imphal object reportedly held a stationary position before disappearing, which makes a simple balloon less tidy as an explanation. Drones are the most plausible modern candidate for a small unidentified object near an airport, and Indian aviation authorities were actively developing drone regulation frameworks in 2023. If this was an unauthorized drone, the absence of a public identification is itself worth noting, because the operational response was large enough that you would expect a follow-up statement. Large birds can confuse observers briefly, but a 95-minute sustained sighting by trained security and airport personnel is difficult to reconcile with a bird. Atmospheric effects tend to produce shimmering, moving phenomena, not a prolonged stationary object. Does any of that rule out conventional explanations? Absolutely not. It means the public record is incomplete. The absence of a published identification is not proof that something extraordinary happened. It is proof that something went undisclosed, and those are very different claims. At lower confidence and based on media accounts rather than verified records, reports from Delhi in 2015 and Pune in 2014 describe comparable encounters near airports, but treat them as context only. The title of this video asks why these cases stopped being discussed, and you deserve a straight answer. It is not that investigators found something and announced it. It is not that they found nothing and announced that either. The public conversation simply ran out of new documented material to run on. Aviation and security agencies in India, as in most countries, communicate the minimum necessary for operational safety. Incidents that are resolved operationally or that produce no further public evidence stop generating official statements. Media attention moves to other stories. No RTI release, no final DGCA report, and no IAF public summary has surfaced to reignite the record. That is a fair description of how institutional silence works. It is not evidence of suppression. It is evidence of how bureaucracies and news cycles interact with unresolved incidents, which is its own kind of unsettling. Here is where the record leaves you: an official parliamentary answer confirming an unidentified object, a documented aviation response, a reported search by fighter aircraft, and no public identification. The verified threshold, sensor data, a released investigation, an official cause has not been crossed. What Indian authorities documented is genuine operational uncertainty. Whether that uncertainty has a mundane cause waiting in a file somewhere, or something more open-ended, the record does not yet say. The question is still on the table. Here is where the record leaves you: an official parliamentary answer confirming an unidentified object, a documented aviation response, a reported search by fighter aircraft, and no public identification. The verified threshold, sensor data, a released investigation, an official cause has not been crossed. What Indian authorities documented is genuine operational uncertainty. Whether that uncertainty has a mundane cause waiting in a file somewhere, or something more open-ended, the record does not yet say. The question is still on the table.